How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of The Creators Process. Today we are here with none other than photographer Katie Holliday. How are we doing today?
Good.
That's good. So I guess, with people who are watching who doesn't know your work and all that sort of thing, would you like to introduce yourself and what you do?
My name's Katie, and I do a lot of art nude photography, portraits, pretty much just a little bit of everything really, but I guess mainly more leaning towards the more art nude style of portraiture.
Fantastic. And so how long ago did you start?
Photography in general, or?
Yes.
Okay, so I think I've kind of always been, since I was a teenager really, when I was younger, we had a camera in the family, and it was a family digital camera, and I used to take a lot of photos using that, and then I actually ended up doing a university course in photography, just mainly because I had no idea what else I wanted to do, and I'd never studied photography, I'd never done anything to do with photography, somehow managed to get onto this course, and then I learned quite a bit from that. I'd say I'm mostly self-taught, but I did do a couple of years of university training.
Yeah.
And then after that I've kind of just been doing freelance stuff here and there. I've worked in a couple of studios, but it's only really been in the past say 3 or 4 years that I've really started to focus more on my own style and my own personal work. So
Fantastic. Did you find that because you said that you did a course in photography, did you find that really helped a lot, or did you feel like sometimes you had to teach a lot of it yourself? Or?
It was kind of here and there. I think by the time I actually got into the course myself, I'd sort of taught myself enough that I knew a lot of what was on the course already. What was on the course just kind of solidified what I already knew. I did learn how to do, which is really helpful, film photography in darkroom, and developing my own photos, which was really a mind-blowing experience, because it was it was my favourite part of the whole course. And I think that was mainly the most that I learned was from doing that, but a lot of the sort of digital side of things I already kind of knew already.
Yeah.
But it was really good because I actually sort of got to work with other photographers on my course, and other people who are in the same sort of boat as me, see different styles. I developed my style a bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say it's kind of a 50-50 to
Okay.
what I've learned to what I already knew.
Yeah. And so how long was that course for?
It was just 2 years.
2 years?
So it wasn't a full degree, but it was a sort of foundation degree. It was just a 2-year.
Yeah. And you said that it took you said 3 or 4 years to figure out what your style is. So do you have a specific type of style or genre that you like to photograph in, or are you just open to any sort of style?
Open to anything really. I don't really have a style as of yet, because I did a lot of, I worked a few years in a studio, so I did a lot of for a while that was all I was really doing was studio photography and artificial lighting and that sort of thing. Whereas in the past year or so I've been kind of going a little more outdoors and doing natural light and exploring that and things like that. So, and I don't really like to sort of corner myself into one style, because I find if I'm trying to look a certain way, it doesn't really work for me. So I just kind of do what I'm feeling in that moment, which some people might not like that, some people might think that's a bit messy, but for me it's just kind of, I'm not really sure what my style is yet, so I do a bit of everything really.
So you don't pin yourself to one specific style, you're open to just trying what you feel would be good at the start and all that? Yeah.
So I take a lot of inspiration from other photographers and what they're doing, and if I see something I really like, I'm oh my god, that's really cool, maybe I'll try that, or I'll just be messing around one day. Sometimes, obviously you work with me a lot in the studio, we'd just go in and we'd be let's just create something cool, and we'd just we wouldn't have an idea, we'd just kind of roll with it
just
and see what and then we'd end up with some really cool images. So
absolutely.
I never really sort of focus on a goal, I just kind of go with an open mind. I'm we'll see what we can create in this day and this location, this lighting, and so it's really fun though. So
yeah, sometimes the best shoots come from just improvising.
Exactly. Or a lot of the time I don't try and plan too much, because I get too nervous about what I'm shooting, and if it doesn't turn out the way that I want it to, then it can be quite defeating. So I just usually go in with no expectations, and just see what's there on the day kind of thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you said that during when you worked in a studio, you worked with obviously like the artificial light, studio lighting, and then you started doing more outdoors. Was it a bit of a challenge when you went from obviously controlling the lighting to obviously then going out in nature and working with obviously the lighting, the natural lighting? Was that a bit of a challenge trying to figure out going from one to another?
In a way, yes. I guess because it sounds really weird because usually it's the other way around. People go from like natural light going to a studio and then they they don't really know what to do because they don't have the environment to work with. They just have the blank wall and the subject. Whereas for me, it was kind of like having to learn how to work my environment into the photos as well. So it's been kind of, it's not really been like a huge challenge, but it's been just a bit interesting how different my work looks from when I'm in a studio environment to like an outdoor environment, because in a studio I guess you're sort of more focused on the subject and getting that perfect, whereas when you're outdoors you've got to factor in like the light conditions, like the scenery around you, obviously the subject as well. There's a lot more to think about, so so I guess like it's been a challenge, but it's also been kind of fun to learn like the different ways. And I think I've been pretty lucky with my shoots so far because I've always ended up with some good photos that I quite like. So yeah.
That's it. And so when you because you said you started 4 years ago taking it very professionally. Was it hard taking those early steps of like, when you started, and what were the steps that you took to start, building up folio, getting yourself out there to get more paid gigs? Like, what were those steps that you took?
A lot of it was just like, I guess for me, like I don't believe in myself a lot, so a lot of what was holding me back, because I obviously I went to university in 2011, so it's been like nearly 10 years, and then I guess I just never really believed in myself enough to kind of just go for it and start just making more of my own work, because I do feel like I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so if something doesn't go 100% right straight away, I get quite defeated, and I don't want to try because I'm worried of the outcome might not be what I want it to be. Whereas especially working in the studio, that really helped me because it sort of taught me to not be as picky with my own work, and it's just as long as the client likes it, then that's fine. Like, it's all about when I was working there at the time, if the client liked it, then great. It wasn't about me, it was about them. And that kind of taught me a lot about, not being so pedantic with everything and just going out there and just giving it a go and seeing what happens. And also just meeting a lot of people who are in the industry too. Like, that really helped, because before I didn't really know anyone. I was very by myself and didn't really know what to do. I'm very shy. Like, you might not believe because I talk so much, but I can be quite shy when I meet new people, and putting myself out there is quite daunting to me.
Absolutely.
So working with other creatives and collaborating together and just creating some cool stuff really allowed me to sort of build up a portfolio that I quite liked, and started, posting more on Instagram and stuff and getting more people in that way. I'm still miles off where I could be and where I should be, because again, I get quite nervous when I, put my work out there, but it's, the past couple of years has really it's gained a bit more momentum, and I'm a bit more confident in, working with other people now, as opposed to before.
So I guess, as I know that you have modelled a few times in your own work or in other people's work, I guess what was your approach when it came to modelling for other people's stuff?
I guess, in what way, how did I get into that? Or,
yeah.
Okay. The first time I ever modelled for somebody was when I was in uni, and she just wanted me to come to her house and just have some fun and wear some wigs, do some cool shots. And as a photographer, I kind of knew what I wanted, when I know what I want a person to do in front of the camera, so it was quite easy for me to model in a way. And it's kind of fun, I enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
But I've never really sort of pursued that in a way. It's more people who just sort of asked me if I want to take part, and in which case I'm always happy to, because I want to help other people in their work and, that sort of thing. If someone's interested in working with me as a model, then great. So.
It's a different creative aspect, isn't it? Because, you go from being the person that's behind the camera to being in front of the camera, and it's such a different transition. I think... Do you see that as well? When you go from one to another, you go from being behind the camera to being in front of the camera?
Yeah, it's different because you don't know how you look a lot of the time. So what you think is a good pose might not necessarily look good in the camera. And
Yeah.
usually when you're behind the camera, you can direct and you can, like show them all what you want. Whereas when you're doing it yourself, what you think looks good with your body might not necessarily look good, in the photo sort of thing. So it's definitely different, and it's definitely like a completely like reversed experience.
Absolutely.
I'm so used to seeing what's on the screen, whereas when I'm modelling, you can't see it, so it's a bit like, oh. But yeah, it's fun in like a different way.
Absolutely, and it's always interesting seeing the results of how when other people take a shot of you to then when you take a shot of someone else. It's kind of a bit of a opposite thing. I guess, so I'll ask you this, when it comes to, when you message people to collaborate with them and all that, is there like a process that you take when when you want to work with someone, or if they want to work with you, what steps do you usually take with that?
It's funny because I never ever message anyone. It's really bad. I never ever make the first move, which is something that I'm really going to have to work on in the next few months or so, because mainly from a confidence point of view, I don't really have the confidence to reach out to people and ask to work with them. It's usually people reach out to me and I'm always like game. So if anyone ever wants to like collaborate with me, like I'm always 100% game with that, especially if I really admire their work as well. So yes, I can't really comment on like approaching people because it's rare that I actually do that unless they're a really good friend of mine, in which case it normally just comes up in conversation.
Yeah.
But I'm yet to kind of venture into the world of like reaching out to models and that sort of thing, because I feel like when I'm a bit more confident with my work, I'll be able to do that. But yeah, so like that's just my my way to it.
That's all good. So what about when it comes to if someone messages you, how do you what is the process that you take? So like someone messages you, do you have an initial idea, or do they have an initial idea? Do what usually happens?
It depends really. Sometimes I get people reaching out and just being like, I love your work, I just want to let's do something cool. And then at which point we just start to build on ideas. They might have a couple of ideas that they want to pitch to me, in which case I'll try my best to sort of work around that. I've never had anyone approach me with an idea that I didn't like.
Okay.
And usually they want my creative input too, because they've seen my work and they like what I do, so they'll just be like, do whatever you want, which is cool. And then if I have an idea in mind, we can just kind of back and forth for a little bit, sort of see what they want to do, whether they're interested in doing more, say like portraiture or something, or if they'd rather do like a nude shoot or like a boudoir style thing. Obviously everyone has different ideas and whatever they're comfortable with, so just finding out what they like, what they feel like doing is really important, because I don't want to force any kind of idea onto somebody that they don't want. So
absolutely.
For me it's a lot about making them happy as well as myself. Like I never want to invite someone to work with me and then them not be happy with the end result. So I always want to make sure that their ideas are heard and that they get a good input into what we're doing as well as me.
Because it becomes like not just they're coming to you and you say the ideas, it becomes a collaborative piece.
Yeah, exactly. And even if somebody's paying me, I still want them to go away with something that they feel like they've been a part of the creative process as well, because I feel like that's really important for even if they're not taking the photos, I want them to feel like they've been involved with it in some way as well, in planning and just feeling a bit more a part of it, rather than just asking me to do all the everything for them kind of thing.
Absolutely, and it makes them more involved.
Yeah, exactly.
When it comes to future projects, do you have anything that's coming up in the next few months?
Off the top of my head, I'm not really sure. Well, I've got a few things coming up with my roommate, for example. She's a model. She's starting to work with a few brands and things, like clothing brands. So we're probably going to be doing some collaborations with that. There's a few photographers that I really want to kind of reach out to and kind of see if we can work together on something, even if I'm just assisting, or we actually work together on a project, which is really exciting. Obviously since COVID, I did have a few plans prior to that, but that kind of went out the window. But so it's just kind of getting back on track and restarting those collaborations and things. And hopefully as well I'm getting a couple of people who are interested in some paid gigs, which is also really cool. So hopefully just kind of my main goal is to kind of put myself out there a bit more, reach out to people rather than waiting for them to come to me, because that's not the best business practice, I guess. And just being a bit more confident in sort of talking to other photographers and things, which is cool.
Well, you'll have to start somewhere.
Exactly.
And I'm very much looking forward to seeing some of your future works that are coming in the future. And I want to say a big thank you for, first of all, inviting me into your house and just to talk about these things when it comes to photography.
Yeah.
And guys, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who has watched this episode. If you want to check out Katie's works, I will leave links to her website, her Instagram in the description. Comment, like, subscribe to the channel, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.